1 minute. Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live at pghcitypaper.com. Email your questions and comments to Lynn at pghcitypaper.com.
Sorry. Whoa! Sorry. I'm fiddling with my knobs. Hello, good morning to you. It's practically spring-like out there, just like we thought it might be. So enjoy while you can. It is Wednesday, the 19th of February. If this computer tells me one more time that is a non-responsive program, I should tell Microsoft about it. Yeah. Oh, I'm sure that'll fix things. Okay. Wow. Okay. Give up. If the show is a little short on factual stuff, it's because the factual stuff is apparently unavailable to me. And that means we're forced to rely on my memory, which means we're fucked. I'm sorry, I shouldn't use such terrible language. Terrible language. Okay, so what I was fantasizing, this shows how pathetic I am. This is my fantasy this morning. To sort of lure one of you in. Just call me, not knowing why. I just want some brave soul to call. And then I am going to subject you to a little bit of a quiz. And every time I've attempted to do such a thing, nobody calls. Everybody's scared to call because I'm not saying what it is I'm doing. And I suspect this will be no different. So there goes that fantasy. But what I wanted to do, I'll tell you, what I wanted to do was pick up on what a friend said as he walked through my front door last night. His first words to me were not hello. His first words to me were, the world is falling apart. Now, I suspected he had just, perhaps watched the nightly news or something like that, because invariably that's the sense you get anytime you indulge in listening to the news. And then he wanted to sort of talk about it, but I thought, you know what? Here's my fantasy. If I were to bring up, I might play with myself here. If I were to bring up all of the countries that I know right now, as we speak, are undergoing cataclysmic violence. Hello there, caller.
Hello. I'll take the test.
All right.
I'm terrible at tests. I get nervous. I always fail them.
No, but
I'll do it.
Okay, but the test is you're going to do as well as I could do, because I was just about to do it myself, since I don't have the answers.
Well, let me say this first. You'll never remember this, but my first call to you was you said, can somebody call in? I'll just interview a regular person. You said it as a throwaway line, and I called in for you to interview me. It was my first call.
Wait a minute. So your first call was suggesting that you were purporting to be, what was I asking for?
No, you were just asking, like you were talking about interviewing
person?
people. You
Yeah.
said people out there probably have interesting lives, so I'll just interview somebody. Somebody called in to interview you. So I called in to see what would happen.
Oh, good.
It was my first call ever.
I bet we had a good time.
Yeah. I was nervous, and I'm terrible at tests.
Yeah, but this test, listen, I can do, you are not going to do any worse or better than I mean, let's take it together, okay?
Okay.
You pay attention to news.
Somewhat, yeah.
Yeah, somewhat. If you do look at the globe today, I mean, and you were to stick a pin in every place that is undergoing literally violent demonstration against the government of that country, the list is growing very long. And I want to, being an American, and you too, my guess is that very few of us have a clue what's happening in these countries. We might sort of know one or two. Okay, for instance, the biggie right now is Ukraine, right?
Yeah. Ukraine and Syria, I would say.
Yes, Ukraine and Syria. But let's add to that. Are you aware that all hell's breaking loose in...
Indonesia?
No. I don't think in Indonesia. Yeah, somewhere over there. I think it's Thailand. I think it's Thailand.
All right.
Okay. Thailand. Also, to our south, looks like could be trouble, Venezuela.
Yeah, that's one of those, dusting of information that I have that's,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, as soon as you said it, yeah.
So, let's not even bother including the entire continent of Africa. Okay, because you got real trouble in the Central African Republic? Is there such a country? Yeah.
We'll say yeah. Is it like Southern Sudan? Is it like Southern Sudan?
I don't know, but it's not Southern Sudan.
What is it, Northern Sudan?
No, yeah, well, we got trouble in Southern Sudan, too, but I don't think that's the country I was referring to.
Okay, yeah, I know. I was just adding one.
And then, of course, if you're a gay person, you do not want to be anywhere near Kenya, Uganda. I mean, they're literally going on, rampaging lynch mobby hunts of gays. Yeah. Good God! So, do you have any sense? And so clearly, you would not pass the Thailand one. What's happening there? Because you thought it was Indonesia.
I knew it was somewhere where there were people who... Yeah, as I said, there's something going on over there, and we'll say the Orient or Asia is kind of thing.
The Orient, right.
Yeah.
Remember? I remember trying to tell my father long ago when he would call Asians Orientals. And I said, Dad, it's just not, that's not a great word anymore. It's not what they are. Asians, not Orientals. He could not get it through his head. They were Orientals to him, and that was it. Okay, so Thailand. I don't know. I don't know what's going on there, but there's trouble there, real trouble. Ukraine. You do have a sense of what that trouble's about, right? Or not?
It has something to do with getting into the EU, or not the EU. Is it the EU?
Yeah, it's the EU. Well, it has to do with the fact that they got this president who, faced with sort of turning to the east or turning to the west, he turned east. Yeah. And Ukraine is a totally divided nation. That nation's probably heading towards civil war. I don't know. Half of it feels comfortable and cozy in Russia's embrace because, frankly, half the country is like ethnic Russian. And the other, the Ukrainians, have no love for the Russians whatsoever, and understandably so. So there's that, and that's looking really trouble. Syria, good God. I feel like we're just watching an entire country, the citizens of an entire country be killed or displaced, right?
Yeah.
Is there anybody left there?
I have no idea. See, I don't want to get into detail about all these things, but for me, that's one of those seem to go back to when they drew the lines, for those countries.
Right.
They should have said, okay, all Sunnis over here, all Shiites over here, and these are your two countries. And they wouldn't have these problems today. Because to me, that's what the fight's about, the Sunnis and the Shiites. And I think there's one more religious group in there, too. There's the Christians, and there's another
Well, you're thinking
Muslim
of the,
sect.
well,
Huh?
the Alawites.
Okay, yeah.
But I think the Alawites are either Sunni or Shia. You know what? And then there's part of me that says, why the hell do I have to learn all this stuff?
Mm-hmm. I learned it so I can, disparage religion, anytime.
Well, it certainly provides you plenty of fodder.
Could be a bunch of it.
Whoa. I kept it straight in my head, Sunni and Shia, when we were in war in Iraq, because you had to understand stuff and who was with us, like whether the Saudis were with us or why Iran was, what all that is. And now, since we haven't been at war in Iraq, I've now forgotten.
Now, isn't
my
it also
Sunni
about people who call themselves Persian and people who call themselves Arabs, too? Is that the same thing? Is it,
no.
Okay.
The only Persians are...
Iranians.
That's Iran.
Okay, yeah.
Iran. Those are Persians, and they do not like being lumped in with Arabs. Because they're not. I mean, ethnically
that's why I use that word, people who call themselves, because that's all it is people who call themselves things. That's all it is.
I was with a woman at a dinner party on Valentine's evening, and
wait a minute, are you coming out of the closet?
No,
I'm just joking.
she's what I was thinking. What did I say?
I was with a woman on Valentine's Day.
Oh no, I was seated next to her. Jesus.
Sorry, but hey, Jesse got it. I got a laugh from Jess.
Let me tell you, that ain't hard.
Hey!
So, I was talking to her, and she had a slight accent, or maybe not. I can't remember, but she didn't. She seemed kind of foreign.
Yeah.
So I did ask the question, "Where are you from?"
Mm-hmm.
And she said, "Syria." And I said, "Whoa, you still got family back there?" And she said, "No, not that I'm aware of." She said, "We all got out in the late 40s, in the 50s, because she was a woman of, a mature woman."
Mm-hmm.
And turns out, so when she said, "I'm a Syrian," I had a certain sense of her. Right? You immediately hear, okay, Arab, this, Then she says, I said, "Well, why did your family leave?" She said, "Because we were Jews." Then my sense of her completely goes, because I'm thinking, no, you're not Syrian, you're a Jew. And you found that out, because if you were a Syrian and a Jew, and there was no problem with those two coming together, you'd still be in Syria, your family.
Yeah.
But by virtue of the fact that being a Jew it was very uncomfortable after a certain period to be there, you took off. And now I'm digressing, because it drives me crazy when some people say that their ethnicity is, for instance, when a Jew will say Syria or Ukraine or Lithuania.
This is where I'm confused.
What?
Now, you're confusing me.
Okay, why?
Because, if she was Christian and moved from Syria, or even Muslim, and she said Syrian, I don't think there would have been a problem with that. Right?
Right.
See, that's where I'm confused. She gave you her nationality as opposed to her, ethnicity?
No, she gave me her religion.
Her religion, yeah.
As opposed to her nationality.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
But since that religion coincided with mine, here's where I'll give you fodder. I saw her immediately as family. And I have trouble with Jews who say, my family is from Lithuania. When they say, what's your ethnicity? And they say Lithuanian. And then on further discussion, it turns out they're Jews. Then I would say, well, why aren't you in Lithuania? Well, the answer is always the same for Jews.
Let me ask you this.
Wait. I had to get the hell out or we'd be dead. Okay, if that's the case, then to identify yourself with the very people who were going to kill you strikes me as very odd. Because what the Lithuanians essentially told the Jews, what the Syrians essentially told the Jews, what the Germans essentially told the Jews, all of whom felt they were Lithuanians, Syrians, and Germans, was, no, you are not. In fact, you're so not, we want to kill you. So I think this is where it's different for some. I think if you're a Jew and you're here in the United States because your grandparents ran for their lives, you do not, and no matter where they ran from, that's not your ethnic. That's not, you owe no. Mine came from Lithuania. I would no more say I'm a Lithuanian or my ethnicity is Lithuanian, because it isn't. It's Jewish, because the Lithuanians never accepted the Jews. They killed them. And that's the same with the Ukraine. They killed Jews. So on one level, I look at Ukraine and I say, F you. That's what I think. And a lot of Jews understand that. You look over there and you say Jew killers. I don't care. They can kill themselves now. Does that seem awful?
I get it. I get it on an intellectual level. Definitely.
Yes.
And because I was actually thinking this, I don't know what the conversation was with someone. It might have even been you on the phone or something like that. And the whole Jewish thing came up, and I did a thought experiment because, I'm into science, and almost all of the guys that I admire in the sciences are Jewish.
That's right.
And they have Jewish heritage, but they also say they're atheists. You know what I mean? They even say atheist Jew, which I don't get. But
oh no, my own rabbi completely gets atheist Jew.
Yeah, because you're basically a cultural Jew, I would think, right?
No, it's even more than that.
Okay, yeah,
it's even more. It's hard to explain because I'm not religious. I don't buy the stories, but there's something about the religion that so resonates with me and is so a part of me, and to sever myself from it seems to me to be, it's something I wouldn't do. You know why? Because it would. Yeah, okay.
Let me guess, because this was my thought experiment. If the Holocaust never happened, there would be far less people who call themselves Jews.
It does have to do with the Holocaust.
Yeah.
I'll be goddamned if I will run from that which I am, Jew.
Yeah.
I will, in your face. So any Jew who runs from it or attempts to pass, and a lot of them did after the Holocaust.
Yeah. And
how do we get on this? But I mean, this tribal and religious stuff resonates emotionally in the bone with some people. It does with me.
Yeah, and believe me, remember, I am called a black guy.
Yes, right. That is correct.
And I know why. You know me. I think everything is going to continue to be terrible until people stop that whole separation of human beings thing, which I don't think will ever happen.
No, it won't.
But but so I kind of get that. Proud black man kind of thing.
Yeah.
You'd be damned if you're going to fire hose the black out of me. That kind of thing.
Right,
so,
because
yeah.
you would be aiding and abetting your killers. Your would-be killers, or your denigrators, or those who would, I don't know.
And that's why all these wars we're talking about, that's why people are picking up weapons and blowing themselves up. That's the reason. Was it Russian? Ethnic Russian? I'll be damned if we're going to fight her.
That's right. That's right. And so since so many of my people came from Russia and came from Ukraine and Eastern Europe, where they were literally, hunted down. I mean, it was constantly. I mean, when that area of the world starts turning on themselves, I don't care as much as I might. And it's not fair. It's not good that I do that because those are people there. Those are human beings. But
and a lot of them wasn't even alive when this
and
happened.
most of them weren't alive and blah, blah, blah. But it's hard to let go of the anger I feel. It's hard to let go.
You sound like a black man.
I know! It's why I so totally identify with blacks. Totally. And it's why there's no one I cannot stomach more than a bigoted Jew.
We had this conversation back in the 90s.
Yeah, I bet we did.
You asked me, you said, you didn't understand why, Jewish people and black people didn't get along better. I said, well, that's not what it is. The Jew who doesn't like black people, that's the white guy in him.
That's right.
Yeah, and the black person that doesn't understand the Jew, that's the Christian in them. That's not the black, that's the Christian.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's absolutely right.
Yeah.
And that's the same with blacks who have trouble with homosexuals.
Exactly.
You're saying that's not the black in them, that's the religion in them.
That's the religion, yeah.
The Christian in them.
Yeah. And that's why I said, my goal in life, even is not to own a house and have a dog and all that stuff. It's to get people to start thinking about these ideas that are just bad and causing problems.
Yeah.
Just think about them. You don't have to change it. At least throw it out there.
I hear you.
I can't. I never looked at it that way. That's all.
Yeah. Well, I so appreciate what, where your head is and where you come from, and I do. And I try to, as much as possible, live what you are living.
Yeah, but you don't have my DNA.
I don't have your DNA, and as I said, I've got a chip on my shoulder that's like a boulder, which is like a lot of black men and women. And I understand that chip. You don't
I had a chip on my shoulder, and I told Eric Estrada to go home. But anyway.
You're out of here.
Okay, have a nice day.
Goodbye.
All right.
I have no idea what just happened. I mean, I thought we were going to talk about Syria and Ukraine, and we ended up on Jews and blacks. Well, I found that interesting. Okay, I'm taking a break. We'll be right back.
Stick around for more with Lynn Cullen Live after this.
Pittsburgh City Paper's annual money issue is available now. Pick up one today for a unique look at the financial issues in the region. Plus, this week's Pittsburgh City Paper includes our popular education pullout guide, Decisions for the Future. Pittsburgh City Paper, available at over 1,700 locations throughout Western Pennsylvania and on the web at pghcitypaper.com, your smartphone at citypapermobile.com, and at the iPhone App Store and Google Play.
Moments in Black History, brought to you by Highmark Blue Cross Blue Shield. Have a greater hand in your health.
At the age of 24, Frank Wills held a job as one of the many security guards in Washington, D.C. at the Watergate Housing and Office Complex. On June 17, 1972, Wills was making his usual rounds and discovered trespassers installing spy equipment in the Democratic National Party headquarters. Wills alerted the police, refusing to accept bribes from the intruders to keep the invasion under wraps. This incident led to the uncovering of the notorious Watergate scandal that upset the Nixon administration and subsequently led to the resignation of President Richard M. Nixon. After the incident, Wills left his job, despite being offered a pay raise, and went to work as a security guard at another building in the Capitol.
Too many of my neighbors affected by stroke, but Highmark is helping us change that by sponsoring our community stroke programs. Caring isn't new for Highmark. I know. I've been a member for 40 years. I'm Jerry Ann Allen, and I'm better with Blue.
We're reinventing affordable health care by keeping the places we call home healthy. It's why our communities are better with Highmark Blue Cross Blue Shield. Highmark Blue Cross Blue Shield is an independent licensee of the Blue Cross and Blue Shield Association, subject to the terms of your benefit plan.
Hi, I'm Dr. John Chips. And I'm Dr. Tim Chips. We have a family dental practice that's been in business for over 35 years. We have 2 locations in the North Hills. No insurance? No problem. We have a new patient special that includes an exam, cleaning, and x-rays for just $99. Find Chips Dental on the web. Remember, Chips Dental. Hi, I'm Dr. John Chips. And I'm Dr. Tim Chips.
Have a question or an opinion? Call Lynn Cullen at 412-316-3381 or email lynn@pghcitypaper.com.
Now, more with Lynn Cullen Live.
Dr. Chips.
I have a call.
Hello. Hello.
Good morning.
Hi. Good morning.
I wanted, you were talking a little bit about Syria and overseas, and then I wanted to bring up about these wars and that. I don't know if you read this book or not at one time. It was General Butler. Are you familiar with him?
No.
Well, he has a good book, which I think every high school kid should read. It's War Profiteering. It explains why we fight these wars overseas, and it's all about making money off it.
Sure.
And if they would read this book before they join the services, when they do get in the war, they'll know what they're fighting for. It's not for the freedom of this country in these overseas wars. It's for the rich. And if people don't understand that, they seem to just get that screwed up, and they think it's just like Iraq. That had nothing to do with our freedom. Maybe the Iraqis. But it's just ridiculous that they brainwash these kids. They go into the service thinking they're fighting for the freedom, which is so wrong and false. I mean, I just don't get it.
Yeah, I hear you. There are times, there have been wars where people are fighting literally for freedom.
Yes.
But, and World War II definitely was one. But most of the others that we can think of, it's true. You're fighting for power. And access maybe to natural resources or whatever. But that's why President Eisenhower, after his stellar career in the military, and warned us about what he called the military-industrial complex. In other words, beware, he said, there are people who want a state of almost perpetual war because it's how they make their money. And in fact, we have a huge military-industrial complex in this country. And guess who was part of it? Halliburton. And yes, right? And then the former CEO of Halliburton, was the vice president. And look what happened.
Did you ever hear, I might have read this, I've heard this, during World War II, there was rich businessmen in this country that had factories over in Germany. And there were certain places they weren't allowed to bomb because they didn't want their factories blown up. I read this a while back, and I don't know if there's any truth in it or not. It was like they pussyfooted around it. You know what I'm saying? It's like there's some things. It might be one of these conspiracy things too.
Right,
I'm not
might be
on that.
But I mean, the fact is that you know enough about the way things really work that you're willing to say, it sounds like a conspiracy thing, but you know what? It's possible, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, I hear where you're coming from.
But after World War II, I think these were all stuff that we didn't have to get involved in.
Well, there was part of it though too was that after World War II we ended up in another war called the Cold War, and this sense that we had to protect, that the world was divided between the bad guys, that be the commies, and us, the good guys, and that fear of encroachment by the commies gave rise to a lot of crazy, unfortunate wars. Vietnam being one, right?
And that's another thing I read about where that was hyped up too.
Well, there were people who bought into what was called the domino theory, which is if you let Vietnam go, wow, that's going to then tip into Cambodia, then Cambodia goes, then Thailand goes, then that was the domino theory. And I don't know. People were scared. I mean, people really thought that the world was going to be blown up in a nuclear holocaust. I think it was just sort of a given in the 50s that that's what was going to end up happening somehow. And the fact that we managed to avoid that is amazing to me.
Yeah.
Came close.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, bye. Jeez, I don't know. It's a dangerous place, this world. But definitely more dangerous for some, like a child in Syria right now. I don't know. There is such horror. and this is why, I just want to add this. This is why Americans have got to stop whining. We do. We got plenty of troubles right here, it is true, and we should all be doing whatever we can to correct them. But always try to keep things in perspective, that we might be the luckiest human beings, most of us, in the universe, to have been born in this place, in this time. For every gay person, what if you'd been born in Uganda? An accident of birth put you here. For every Jew, what if you'd been born in, and we can start naming a lot of countries there, right? Or if you're Christian and born in the wrong country. Or if you're whatever. Or if you're a woman. God. This country, the United States, for all its imperfections, truly has been a land of extraordinary opportunity for millions and millions of people, including us. And we know it's all screwed up too, and we've got to be vigilant. But on the broader scale, we have no reason to complain too much. And we do. Hello?
Hey, Lynn. George
Yeah.
from
Hi, George.
Hi. Did you really finish your interview thing?
No,
No,
because we never did. I mean, do you know what's going on in Thailand?
Yes.
That's the one I haven't focused on. Do they still have a king? Yeah.
Yes, they do.
Yes,
King
they do.
Bhumibol.
King who?
Bhumibol Adulyadej. Why do I know that? Because I was in Vietnam and I spent a month in Thailand also.
Okay, so what's the problem in Thailand now? They do have a...
Wait a minute. Now, what's the interview? Is it just...
No, I just wanted to see if
any...
Yeah, I wanted to see if anybody, if you look at all these countries, are any of us paying any attention so that we can answer the simple question in 25 words or less, what's the problem in Thailand? And I think most of us can do...
Oh, yeah.
We can do Ukraine.
Can I give you a little pretext?
Yeah.
I don't think the world's in such a bad shape as your visitor was portraying it.
Okay.
I mean, okay, I can think of a dozen countries right now where there's upheaval. But then I look and I see that there's, 198 sovereign nations in the world? And there's a dozen that are having some serious issues and everything. And a lot of them are mostly internal, fractional type things that always go through countries at one time or another. And I mean, I could get down the list. I could say, okay, Ukraine, Syria, Egypt, Libya, Central African Republic, Mali, Somalia. Let's jump over it. Well,
Venezuela. Let's add Venezuela. They're heading for trouble.
Iraq, and I could go. Oh, and here's another one I could throw in too that you can get concerned about ahead of time.
Egypt. We say
Ireland. No, not Ireland. Excuse me.
Scotland? Nah, that's not going to get ugly.
Wait a minute. Scotland is considering going independent in September.
I know, but
I mean, just to get you hyped up about something that's not really big either.
Right. Okay. So you're saying, again, I was arguing to look at a broader picture, and you're saying if you look at the broader picture, the world is doing what the world always has.
Yeah. I don't think it's... I mean, there are some serious hotspots that could become really inflamed to involve a lot of people, including us, or regionally be a big disaster, like in the Middle East with, say, Israel and some enemies. I think the Ukrainian thing is a very serious...
I agree. I think Ukraine is serious. I think Syria is serious. I'm less concerned about the others, but that's just because I don't know.
Right. Okay, but you were going to ask me about Thailand.
Yeah, so give us, really, I don't want to delve too much into it, because after all, I'm an American, and I don't give a damn. But, what's going on there? What is that about?
Well, Thailand is, it's got a king, it's got a monarchy, and they've had it forever.
But
it was never a colony by foreigners like the French-controlled Indochina. They have a king, and they're very peaceful people, and very advanced people and everything, and proud and independent and everything. But they've had, like a lot of countries have, corruption. And they got some people, military corruption as well as, like, commercial corruption. And that's what's going on, that they are sick of the corruption, and new generations come up, and the former prime minister stepped aside and put his niece in charge of the government and is still running it and shows further corruption, and the people are just thoroughly pissed.
Okay.
And
they've
gone in the streets.
Okay, wait.
It's gotten a little violent, but they're serious about that. They want things changed.
Right. And it has a king, but it's also has a democratically elected.
Yes.
Right.
A legislature and a prime minister and everything like it.
And is this king related to Yul Brynner?
No, he doesn't even look anything like him.
No, but isn't that where The King and I was set?
Yes, yeah. Siam, they called it.
Siam is what it was, right?
Yeah.
And so that monarchy has continued to this day.
Yes, and it's going to be interesting how they replace him, because this King Bhumibol is getting very old.
Yeah.
His wife died about 3 years ago. She was a knockout beauty, like a movie star. He lost her, and he's kind of in a funk. And he's getting very old and kind of frail. And
people love him.
Yes. Oh, yeah. And they always adhere to the king as
well. Can't he step in and sort of? But he's just sort of, you're saying, out to lunch right now.
Yeah. Now here's our involvement in it. Thailand was an ally of us in Southeast Asia, and still is very strong. And but there's no Cold War friction there anymore,
right?
Except maybe with China a little bit. But we train their security people and their military big time. I know personally a guy who was over there to train their security forces, and so we've got a lot invested in them, and for them providing like stability in South Asia. So we keep our fingers in that, and but really it's their own internal fight that's going on to get rid of corruption and modernize their government.
Hey,
so
listen,
it's really not a threat to the world.
Okay, George, listen to this. This is how diverse and global our audience is. Just got an email from Bree, who usually is in Asia, but now he's in, well, I guess still qualifies as Asia, Dubai. And he says, I wish I could call, but it is too expensive from Dubai. Taxkin, who was the guy the PM who resigned, he says that guy lives in Dubai in exile now, and he just wants to point out to you, listen to this, it was his sister, not his niece, that he...
Oh, yeah, okay,
and
I got it mixed up.
And then Bree says, I have met her.
Yeah.
So Bree has met the woman who is now the prime minister, but he can't call in.
A quality audience, yeah.
I'll tell you.
I stand corrected then, yeah.
Okay,
but that shows the corruption that those Thai high officials got money stashed in the Emirates and the Middle East to make an exit, which is what they've always done.
Well, and which is what one of the first callers was suggesting, is that the rich, these wars and everything, and often the trouble, it's the rich who are making out no matter what's going on.
Yeah, and I think a lot of those countries are having these turmoils, are sick. A younger population is growing up, demographics have changed, and they are sick of the old-time way of running things for just a segregated, rich, privileged class, and they want that changed. And it doesn't involve our security or anything like that. And we shouldn't really be involved. We should support friends and movements that reform things and everything. But often we're involved in the corruption ourselves too.
Yeah.
Sad to say.
Well,
but I'm not a typical. I don't think I'm a typical caller. I don't know for this interview because, see, I guess a product of the Cold War that I was made aware of this by one of my junior high school teachers that gave me the scope of like the developing Cold War, and then of course I was in Vietnam, and I sent my daughter to study abroad and everything. I've always been interested in international affairs because of just being interested in First Peoples and everything, and the world and everything, but also because of the security thing from the past. But I see it quite differently today, and I think a lot of it's benign, but there are some serious.
Yeah, well, and there always will be. Yeah, George, thank you.
Yeah,
thank you.
Good talking.
You get an A. Thank you. Roger just sent me a political cartoon, and he thinks I've already talked about this. You know what? I haven't talked about this because this is one of those realities that I think I'll just lose my mind if I start talking about it. And that has to do with this continuing murder of young black people going on in southern states as a result of stand your ground laws or even castle doctrine laws. But mostly it's a result of the love of guns and how it's considered normal for everybody to have one. And you see how some people use a gun because it's right there when no one in their right mind would do so. And the thing is a lot of young black people are dying. This trial was this a Florida trial too, the Dunn trial? I believe it was. You know what? I can't even. That's a 17-year-old black kid, unarmed, now dead. And the same, and killed by these guys carrying guns who got frightened, whose racism, whose innate fear of blacks, or hatred of blacks, but usually that hatred is based in fear. And so they feel threatened by any black guy who's just living his life. Black guy. And so Roger sent me this cartoon from the Miami Herald, and it's a cartoon of gravestones. And on each one is not their name, but just why they died. Played music too loud. That's one gravestone. Texted in a movie theater. That's another. Looked a bit threatening. That's on another gravestone. Wore the wrong type of clothing. Gravestone. Looked like a thug. Gravestone. Looked like he possibly might have had a gun. Gravestone. Reached into their pocket. Dead. Wore a hoodie. Dead. And when Florida first passed this stand your ground law, I said, and some people said I was being over dramatic and way too, when I said we should not call it stand your ground, you just call it free season on black men law. Because as soon as that thing was passed, I knew black men mostly would die. And their killers would go free. And this latest case of a girl, black girl, who was involved in an egging of a car, she's dead. Because the guy thought the way you deal with that is to shoot the kid. This country's insane in that regard. And no, I haven't talked about it because I can't do it without sort of coming unglued. And we know that that is not a pretty sight. So I just avoided it. And today, the news is Oxford, Mississippi. Ole Miss, wonderful institution, I'm sure. But my sense of Ole Miss is indelibly linked with watching the integration of Ole Miss back in the 60s, when an extraordinarily courageous black man named James Meredith risked his life to become the first black man admitted to the University of Mississippi, and the extraordinary violence and terror that set off. Well, there is now a statue of James Meredith on the university's campus. And yesterday, I guess Sunday, this is when this happened, that statue of James Meredith was vandalized. A witness who saw the vandalization said that the men who were doing it were screaming racial slurs as they defaced the statue of James Meredith. And then they tied a noose around the statue's neck and put their wonderful Stars and Bars flag up. This is why, this absolute inability of some Americans to let go of their bigotry is so maddening to me. And you see, and again, I'll tell you, these people who vandalized this statue, and I want to say this, damn it, because Republicans seek these people's votes, and always have. That Republican tent is full of racists like this, because God knows they ain't in the Democratic tent. Not that the Democrats don't have racists too, but they don't have those. They don't campaign with Ted Nugent. That's what Republicans do. And that's why their party is going down. But let's remember what I said just a little bit ago. We're very lucky to live in this great country. We are. God. Okay, I'm taking a break. Goodbye.
More is on the way with Lynn Cullen Live.
BergBargains.com. Log on today for exclusive bargains from your favorite local restaurants like Perrytown Draft House, Jerome Bettis Grill, Verde, Hokkaido, and the Pittsburgh Grill downtown. Plus discount tickets to the Improv Comedy Club. Sign up for the weekly email update for your chance to win a $100 gift card from this weekly spa. The all-new BergBargains.com. Pittsburgh's best bargains. BergBargains.com.
Kids have the craziest ideas about food. Where do they get this stuff? Like eating Brussels sprouts helps you hit home runs. And eating carrots gives you X-ray vision. It's nuts. And I honestly have no idea where my daughter got this notion that broccoli is the official food of professional ballerinas. Kids, the only reason my 4-year-old loves cantaloupe is because he's convinced it comes from the moon.
One small step for man, lots of potassium for mankind.
And the other day when my oldest came up to me and said, "Mom, will eating peas and carrots really help me pull off a fakey frontside ollie with a twist?" I look him in the eye and say, "It can't hurt, honey. It can't hurt."
Moms everywhere are finding creative ways to help their kids eat 5 servings of fruit and vegetables a day. Get ideas, get involved, get going at letsmove.gov. Brought to you by the USDA, HHS, and the Ad Council.
Dr. John Chips. And I'm Dr. Tim Chips. We have a family dental practice that's been in business for over 35 years. We have 2 locations in the North Hills. No insurance? No problem. We have a new patient special that includes an exam, cleaning, and x-rays for just $99. Find Chips Dental on the web. Remember, Chips Dental. Hi.
You're listening to Lynn Cullen Live at pghcitypaper.com. Once again, here's Lynn Cullen.
All right. No, I'm not going to talk about Ted Nugent. That's something. Republicans proudly stand with him and his like. Nugent, as you know, has said so many appalling things. But one of the latest is calling the president a subhuman mongrel. And the Republican who would be the next governor of the state is campaigning with him. I'm looking at a picture with Lieutenant Governor Abbott and Ted Nugent, who called him my blood brother. The New York Times reports today that this illustrates the increasing degree in which Texas Republicans are embracing extreme political speech. And you can see more than in any other place how the election of Barack Obama and then his re-election unhinged folks who just can't tolerate a black man being elevated to the position of essentially the most powerful man in the world. Yeah, Ted Nugent, it's a good Republican. What did I want to talk? Oh, Lauryn Willams, right? Lauryn Willams. We claim her. She's from Rochester around here. And this is the Olympic bobsledder who had never even considered jumping into a bobsled a year ago. It wasn't until last summer that somebody, another one, Lolo Jones, is that her name, mentioned to Lauryn Willams, hey, you should try this, because people with the explosive speed and the power that you have, you're good for the person who needs to shove that bobsled and then jump in. And Lauryn Willams, who already has gold from, I believe, the London Olympics in track and field, is now looking. She's 2 runs away. She's on the top. She and her partner are, and they had never raced before together. Lauryn Willams had never been in a bobsled a year ago, and she's now looking at gold. I hope she gets it. For all I know, it's going on right now. I don't know. But she would be the second person in the world. I'm sure you've heard this. I think it's very exciting. The second person in the world to ever win gold medals in both the summer and winter Olympics. And she would be the first woman. And nobody has done it since, like, I don't know, 1930 or something. You imagine being that much of an athlete that you could literally take on a sport and within months become the best in the world. Unbelievable. Really unbelievable. So, someone to root for, clearly. And I hadn't talked about this, but I did want to. It's another Olympic thing. I don't know if you've been aware of the outrage on the Twittosphere, and I guess it got into other areas. The blogosphere. I don't know about the stratosphere or the ionosphere. Is that a sphere? What are those spheres? There's the atmosphere, the stratosphere, the whatchamasphere. What are those? Remember those that you learned? I think one was an ionosphere. Don't you vaguely remember learning something like that? Yeah, you slept through science class. Well, yeah. Mm-hmm. Obviously, I did too. So anyway, this one has to do with a guy who medaled, Bode Miller, and what did he do? He tied for bronze in the men's Super G, whatever that is. You know, you look at these Winter Olympics and you think, 40 years ago, the Winter Olympics didn't look anything like this. Well, all these people on boards, you know, flying through the sky and grabbing things, and you know, it's a totally different thing. Anyway, after he got that medal, after he won, he broke down because it had been a very emotional period for him, including the death of his younger brother earlier in the year. And so he composed himself, got himself together, and then he was set upon by one of the NBC interviewers, Kristen Cooper. And having been a reporter, I know how when you see the person you're interviewing looking like they're about to lose it, you can do one of two things. You can push him over the edge, which a lot of reporters love to do, because then you get tears. And that means the people at home watching it will start crying too. And it'll have impact. And there's nothing you want more than impact and emotion. And so this Kristen person goes after Bode Miller, and you can tell she wants him to cry again. And he does say something about his brother, but he says it matter-of-factly and keeps going, and then she zeroes in. And she asks him 3 or 4 times. I saw this interview once, 3 or 4 times, essentially the same question, trying to wring the tears out of him. You know, so what does that mean to you? I mean, is it especially important because of, well, you know, the death of your brother? And somehow he answers, but he doesn't cry, so she comes back. And I mean, it must really be especially hard. And I've seen you, like, looking up. You pointed up. Were you thinking of him, looking down on you? And he somehow, and she keeps at it. She just keeps asking the same damn question with the clear intent to make Bode Miller cry. And she does. He breaks down. He breaks down and literally goes to his knees. And she hightails it out. Oh, she pats him on the head or something and then hightails it out. And I think, again, having been in a position where I could too, oh, as a reporter, you want those tears. Oh, man, do you want those tears. But it says something about you if you continue to bedevil somebody who is filled with emotion, trying to get them to break down. And what she did was so open, was so obvious, and of course masquerading as sympathy and empathy, because these questions were asked within, I noticed that you were looking at, and I'll tell you, I'm hardly alone in wanting to jump through the tube and strangle her. It's disgusting. And here's what's even more disgusting. That was not a live interview. Maybe it was at 3 a.m, and maybe somebody saw it then. But this sat around, and as NBC put its stuff together for the primetime show that they put on, where they recycle all the stuff that happened while we were asleep, they kept that interview in, which is amazing that they didn't see how it would make them look bad. They could have edited that interview, but they took every little bit of it because they got the prize. He not only cried, he went to his knees, and the interview was over. Wow. That they didn't see that that was a violation that they could remedy by not showing it to the rest of us says something about them, too. Wrong choices, despicable. All right. Hey, guess who's coming tomorrow?
Tom!
It's been so long, and he's had a rough period, but he, whoa, made it through, and he'll be back. I can't wait to see him. I got to give that guy a big hug. Tom Sokolowski tomorrow, Chris Potter on Friday, or he's a dead man. Simple as that. Oh, if he doesn't come on Friday, I'll show you how a reporter makes somebody cry. Okay? I'll do it to him on Friday. No, if he shows up, I won't do it to him. Well, at any rate, he'll be sorry if he doesn't show. You don't fuck with me.
Lynn Cullen Live, Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pghcitypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper, Steel City Media, and its advertisers.